This woman is dead, her hands are tied, her body has been thrown into the river, and yet Paul Delaroche has hidden something in this painting that changes the entire scene. Look just above her head. That tiny ring of light shouldn't be there. There is no candle, no torch, no sunrise illuminating her face. In fact, almost everything around her is disappearing into darkness. So, where is the light coming from? Because once you understand that, this stops being a painting about a woman's death. It becomes a painting about the failure of the people who killed her. And Delaroche built almost every detail around that idea. The ropes, the darkness, the grieving figures in the distance, even the strange stillness of the water. But to understand why, you have to notice something unusual about the moment Delaroche chose to paint. He doesn't show us the execution. He shows us what happened after. Painted in 1855, The Young Martyr takes us back to the persecution of the early Christians under the Roman Empire. A young woman has been bound by the wrists and thrown into the Tiber. Delaroche gives us almost nothing else. No executioner, no crowd, no dramatic struggle. The violence has already happened. We arrive too late. Her body floats almost perfectly still. Her hands remain tied in front of her. Her face is pale, and behind her, on the riverbank, two figures collapse into the darkness. They appear to be her parents. They can do nothing but watch. And yet, they are not what your eyes keep returning to. You keep looking at her, more specifically, at the thin ring of light suspended above her head. And that is exactly what Delaroche wants, because almost everything in this painting belongs to the physical world. The water, the stone, the ropes, the trees, the human body, even the people mourning her. But the halo doesn't seem to belong to that world at all. It has no visible source, and that creates the painting's central contradiction. Her body tells us she has been defeated. The light tells us the opposite. Delaroche makes that contrast even stronger through the rest of the composition. Look at the water around her. It is dark, cold, and almost completely still. Normally, water should distort a reflection. It should move the body. It should make the scene chaotic. Instead, the river almost seems to hold her. There is something unnaturally peaceful about it, and that matters, because Delaroche could have painted the execution itself. He could have shown Roman soldiers dragging her toward the river. He could have shown terror on her face. He could have filled the scene with movement and violence. Instead, he chooses the silence after it. The Romans are gone. Their power is absent from the painting. Only their ropes remain, and even those ropes now seem strangely insignificant. They could bind her hands, they could kill her body, but the painting suggests that this was the limit of what they could do. The halo transforms what should be an image of defeat into something completely different, a victory. And Delaroche makes another unusual choice. The halo isn't the enormous golden disc we often associate with medieval Christian art. It is incredibly thin, almost fragile, a small line of light, floating in darkness. If it were brighter, it might overwhelm the painting. Instead, you almost have to discover it, and when you do, the entire image changes. Without the halo, this is a tragedy. A murdered girl floating down a river, while her family mourns. With it, the meaning reverses. Her parents see death. We are allowed to see something they cannot. That may explain why they are placed so far away. They belong to the darkness of the riverbank. They experience the scene as human beings would experience it, through grief. But the viewer occupies a different position. We can see the body and the halo at the same time. We know something the mourners don't. And then there is her face. Delaroche doesn't show agony. Her expression is almost impossibly calm. Her head tilts gently backward. Her eyes are closed. If you ignored the ropes, she could almost be sleeping. That resemblance is important in Christian imagery. Death is repeatedly compared with sleep, temporary rather than final, and Delaroche pushes that idea further by making the dead body the brightest human form in the painting. Everything around her disappears into shadow, but she remains visible. The darkness doesn't consume her, it frames her. Even the colour of her clothing matters. Against the black-green water, the pale fabric separates her from the landscape. She seems physically present in the river, but visually detached from it, almost as though she no longer belongs there. And this is where the title becomes important. Delaroche doesn't call the painting a woman drowned in the Tiber. He calls her the young martyr. The word martyr originally comes from the Greek word for witness. A martyr, in the Christian tradition, isn't simply someone who dies. Their death becomes testimony, and that transforms the ropes as well. The ropes are supposed to represent power. Someone captured her, someone condemned her, someone decided she would die, but we never see that person. We never even see the empire responsible. Delaroche removes them completely. Nearly 2,000 years later, the persecutors have disappeared. The martyr remains, which makes the painting strangely historical, as well as religious. The Roman Empire that condemned early Christians eventually became the empire in which Christianity spread. The people who were supposed to disappear became saints. The executions intended to destroy the religion became part of its story, and Delaroche compresses that enormous reversal into one tiny detail, a ring of light. That's why asking where the light comes from matters, because physically, it comes from nowhere. There is no natural explanation inside the painting, and that's the point. The light isn't illuminating the scene, it's interpreting it. It tells us how we're supposed to understand everything else. The ropes say, prisoner. The halo says, saint. The river says, death. The light says, life. The mourners see loss. The viewer sees something they cannot. And perhaps that is why Delaroche painted the moment after the execution, rather than the execution itself. Violence would have made Rome look powerful. Silence makes it look temporary. The people who killed her don't even deserve a place in the painting. All that remains of their authority are two ropes around the wrists of someone they can no longer hurt. And above her, almost easy to miss, is the one thing they could never take away.